boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, running like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right, shout out to FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Coma. Get your prop bets in that FanDuel. And shout out to you, the mighty Who Dat Nation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you being in this live, man. We're going to talk a little something, fam. We're going to go over a few things. We know the other day wasn't able to do it yesterday. I had a very busy schedule, but today kind of got cleared where we can kind of get into this information right here. Well, what we learned from the Kellen Moore at the NFL's owner meetings, man. We're going to listen to a little bit of the interview, several portions of it, and then ultimately we will then play some of the interview from new Saints quarterback Zach Wilson, who also is kind of talked about his thought process in terms of joining the city of the Black and Gold Nation, man, coming here. He's very excited about it. Would love to hear his thought process here as he'll battle Spencer Rattler for that backup job. So this guy's a former second overall pick. The Saints are getting it. Kellen Moore, feels like he can work with this guy. That's a very interesting twist, because I thought, that the Saints would ultimately go toward more of a veteran backup quarterback to compete, maybe somebody Carson Wentz-esque or somebody within that realm. You get what I'm talking about? Somebody along that way is what we thought we'd be thinking originally that they possibly would be doing. But, man, it was interesting. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about that. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show. We up in this one. Going to be with you the summation of just under an hour in the broadcast. Shout out to OG Jerry and happy belated birthday to one of our biggest supporters, OG Jerry. Much love to you, my brother. And shout out to all of the Black and Gold family members that are out there, man, as well. Feel free to share the show on your social media feed, man. We up in this one, man, as it's just been a wonderful, positive and powerful offseason in terms of our Black and Gold and how they're moving. The energy is been a long time coming since we've had so much excitement about the season and feeling good, and the energy to Drew Brees being announced to the NFL officially, riding that powerful energy as well through the team, a positive ending of the season, them being fixated in on the biggest needs on the team, going out and doing really excellent scouting, signing some good contracts to bring in, the clearing up of the voided situation going into the future. And my goodness, it's a lot to be said about how great the New Orleans Saints are operating and moving right now. And it's been a long time coming, man. It's been a long time coming. So anyway, before we get to this wonderful article that Jeff Nowak penned, man, he did a wonderful job on this article. Y'all go to WWL and check them out on this article. Really good job doing it, breaking this interview down. But we'll get to that momentarily. Let's get into the interview from Kellen Moore to hear for yourself. Kellen,
Zach Wilson, and you expect him to compete with Spencer for the backup job? Yeah, no, I think we were really excited to have an opportunity to sign Zach. Hey, we had 2 quarterbacks. We're going to need to sign some more, and our job is always to make those environments as competitive as possible. We feel good about watching Zach over the time of his journey. Have followed him, evaluated him a number of times now, and so I felt like the opportunity was right. We feel really good about obviously Tyler and Spence, and we feel like both those guys progressed really well last year, and so there's always competition in every NFL environment, but I think it'll be a really good spot for us.
Sam Darnold just won the Super Bowl, and there's been all these kind of reclamation projects working around the league. Is he one of those guys to you where you feel like you can come in and you can give him something and next off? I mean, after the starting job.
I mean, Zach's 26 years old. It's really the same age as the rest of our quarterback room, and so his journey's taken him some different spots. Again, you do some homework on it, you evaluate everything. I think this will be a great opportunity for him to be in I think hopefully a healthy environment from the quarterback perspective, and just continue to grow and develop because he's still got plenty of that available to us.
Is there anything about
what's interesting, fam? We forget that Spencer Rattler is not Kellen Moore's quarterback, meaning he inherited him, so to speak. He's from the previous regime that picked up the quarterback. So Kellen Moore, Tyler Shuck is a guy that he picked up, and now he's adding, which is a really interesting pickup of Zach Wilson, bringing him here. He feels like he can help Zach Wilson. He really does. And when you have a guy like Kellen Moore, a smart guy, and you got the Saints brass, a lot of these guys are all former quarterbacks that can pick apart the game. This could be an environment in which he could learn and thrive. It could be, and potentially it could be a situation where, and I don't want to get to that right now to talk about any kind of trade scenarios because we've been hearing that all offseason, dealing with our backup quarterback. But nonetheless, it's a very interesting sign. I thought you would probably get somebody more toward the late 20s going into the 30s as a veteran guy, but him being the same age as Tyler Shuck, even though he's been in the NFL, several years more, in the fact that, regardless of if you like him or not, he's played football in some interesting spots, and he's had some successes, a lot of failures. But Kellen Moore sees that he can help this guy.
Kind of going through some stuff.
Shout out, fam. Who that to y'all? Appreciate y'all. Hit the like button.
I certainly think he's got some experience that he can lean on. Both probably experiences he feels really good about, and some experiences that he got to learn from. And every quarterback has that. And so, Zach went through a lot early in New York. Wasn't without some success and some good moments. I think you certainly recognize those. And then his experience going to Denver, I think that was a really healthy situation for him. Thought that preseason film at Denver was really, really good. I think obviously we have ties and kind of know what that operation looked like for him, and so we feel like we can provide an opportunity for him just to get better as a quarterback.
We're from Houston, Texas. I was curious Foster Moreau and kind of what you thought of him and as a player and a person, what brings you to the table.
Yep, absolutely love Foster. A-plus person, just an awesome leader for our team. He was coming off an injury for us, so he didn't play right away, and so the leadership that he showed on our team through a little bit of a challenging early part of the season was really special, and so I'm excited for his future. I think he can still play. He still plays at a really high level, and so he'll be an excellent contribution to that tight end room.
Yeah, Foster Moreau was an all-local guy as well, LSU, then ultimately to the Saints, and I believe he's with Houston now. We got some positive play out of Foster. A lot of injuries, though, that kind of stalled. And when he was in there, he wasn't at, several plays come to mind that he made that were actually pretty positive, but a lot of them just didn't look right on film. And I don't know if he was totally healthy while he was here, but I think the Saints just wanted to pivot and get more athletic and young in the tight end room. And when we got, no disrespect to Foster Moreau, but Noah Fant is an upgrade last
month. Personally, went through Goma and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty good example of perseverance.
Yeah, I think he's just got he's persevered through a lot.
He really has. Shout out to Foster.
His smile and his excitement each and every day in the building is very contagious, and I think it helps everyone. Yep.
How have things progressed in terms of conversations? What's kind of this?
Yeah, there's conversations, and that's what this time of year is all about. And so, that's obviously the business side of this thing that inevitably comes up.
It just came to mind. That man had a pea green suit on. Y'all seen that? Oh, boy, that boy had a pea green suit on, man. Hold on. I'm so petty with it. Y'all seen that? Hold on, man. I gotta see it, man. That dude had a pea green suit on, man. I ain't seen some bitch wear a pea green. Hey. I was like, hold on, your pea green suit. All right. I hear you, Playboy. I hear you.
Yeah, there's conversations, and that's what this time of year is all about. And so, that's obviously the business side of this thing that inevitably comes up.
Oh man,
everyone's a part of that. Everyone knows those things come up, and so it's just about a working relationship for everyone. Just to
people just walk around, sit shit down,
and find a good situation. So obviously we know we love Chris, and we're excited about his future.
What is the benefit of getting a deal done?
Yeah, I think anytime. Obviously, it becomes a situation where you understand where it's going to be. But again, these timelines are all different. I think it's hard to try and say everyone has to follow the same timelines. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of variables that go into those things. We love Chris. It's been a really good conversation, I know, from a business side, and they'll just continue to keep working through that.
Where does Alvin kind of fit in?
That's interesting because there's been very little since we heard from Chris Olave, the end of the season press conference from Slick Mickey Loomis. There's been very little of anything, and to my knowledge, and word on the street is, for the people that I know, that there is no movement on the deal right now. I mean, it is pretty much where it was when they started negotiating. Chris Olave gave him a price point. Now, after you've seen Jackson Smith and Jigba's number go up in terms of what he got paid, of course that's going to impact what Chris Olave is asking for. So based on what I'm hearing is that they're saying that it hasn't moved much. So, I mean, they're saying they're still talking and negotiating. And at some point, if there's only two ways this is going to go, it's either you're going to pay him what he wants or around what he wants, or are you going to ultimately seek to trade him? So I don't know what the holdup is with the Saints. I know there's some apprehension. That's language in the deal that could be worked out. We know there is, like, the Who Dat Nation. I ain't gonna say we're split, but there are a lot of people in the comment section saying, "Q, I'm pro Olave, pay him his money." And their idea and their thought process is based on what they've seen. Like, go back to last year, at the end of last year. Let's say we're here last year at this point, right? And going into Olave's second to last year, before the end of his, we're paying on that option. The idea was Chris Olave getting hurt. He got concussed. We don't know if he's worthy of it, right? Playing the games, his statistics, right? That's one thing. Had the Saints signed him then, they would have saved a lot of money. But drawing it out, like having the market to set the value of your player, it works for you, and sometimes it don't. It didn't work for him with DeMario Davis. I heard they were interested in re-signing DeMario, but the market didn't work for it. The market's not working. Well, it's kind of working for him with Cam, because Cam is just rumorville. Teams have money, but a lot of people not jumping on what Cam want. So the Saints could be right in that estimation. But in terms of Double D, in terms of what we're seeing with Chris Olave, the longer you wait on this, the longer it's hurt. Now, the thing is, Chris Olave met it. He played the games. The last game of the season, it was out because he had a blood clot in his lung. I don't count that. But the great rest of the season he played, he had career numbers on several highly marked statistical categories that lead to paydays. So if you wanted to see him play and ball out and meet career moments or, plateaus, he did that, which means that was the thought process the prior year going into the big money year, the $15.4 million year, right? Now it's time. I met what you wanted me to do. Now pay me my money. Saints like, oh, well, I don't know about that. Well, you know what you got to do if you don't want to. Now, of course, if he wants a certain amount of, they're going to work up to it and around it. But if Olave could turn it down, he don't have to sign nothing they put in front of him. Of course, he'll play on the 15.4. The Saints will trade him before the trade deadline. of 26-27 occurs. But nonetheless, the bottom line is he met it. So pay him. Plus his continuity with Tyler Shuck there's no debate. It's undebatable what he meant to the team and what Tyler Shuck and the relationship he has in terms of that. There is no other wide receiver on the team currently that can do what he do. You can surmise and estimate and hypothesize all you want, but none of these guys out of the 11 to 12 wide receivers we have, not named Chris Olave, has done anywhere close to what he's done. And that's the issue when you have a bunch of unproven guys, talented as they may be, they have not done half of what he wants. So you don't have anything you can lean to and say, well, we'll just trade Olave and we'll lean into this other guy because he's done half of what Chris did or he's showing that potentiality. You don't have that. Remember, and if you thought you had it last year when you traded Rashid Shaheed to the championship, to the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. Can't call them the Sea Chickens. They won a bowl last year. So they won a championship with Rashid as their wide receiver. Then he signed back a multi-year deal to remain there, and you got picks for that. So if you had that insurance policy, hey, man, you won't pay him that, but we'll give him, we'll just lean into Shaheed. No, you traded that bargaining chip for draft picks. Now you don't have anybody to lean to. You have to pay him or you trade him. Now, other family members saying, because I got to be fair and admit to both, a lot of other family members say, hey, Q, listen, man, hey, I like him, bro, but he's not a number one. Q, I like him, but he gets hurt too much. He gets too many concussions. He can't be relied upon. I get that, and that's why I say I can't kick against what the family members are saying. That's on that side of the spiel. A lot of fans say Q ain't worth $30 million. I hear you, but do you also recognize where his statistics and what his involvement in terms of his resume and what he's done over time with the team means in terms of dollars compared to his peers in the NFL? And according to that, it says he is up there. So regardless of how you look at it, what is your insurance policy if you want to trade him? We'll just take a guy in the draft. There is no guaranteed. No matter how good we think Cornell Tate is, and I think he's good. He's never played at this level before. You have a guy that's been in the league going on what 4 or 5 years now. We've seen going on 5 years now with Chris Olave. He's done it at the highest levels, and he didn't have a solid complement. That's another thing that I think people be kind of walking on is the fact that Chris Olave never had a consistent combo, meaning another wide receiver on the opposite side that could take pressure off of him. Not consistently, right? It was just musical chairs. So it'd look differently if he had another veteran or perhaps another wide receiver you can pair with him that you can't double guard him because this other guy will tear you up. That sort of thing. But nonetheless, they're talking about renegotiating, but they mentioned it doesn't move the bar at all. It still hadn't gone anywhere. He's standing on where he is, and the Saints are standing on where they are. Somebody has to move, and it might have to be. It got to be the Saints.
In the picture in the running back room, you guys make up.
Yeah, really excited about signing Travis. Obviously Alvin. We love Alvin. He means the world to all of us. And again, this is a full offseason process. Certainly, we feel like, hey, he's in that room. You can find roles for all those different guys. We'll go through the whole offseason process and continue to grow and develop this team.
Are you planning as if he's going to be part of the room and everything?
Well, yeah, he's certainly on the roster and part of that running back room. And we feel like there's ways that you can manipulate all those guys and put them in plenty of situations. Again, look at our season last year. Look at probably just about every NFL season. Plenty of running backs play. Obviously,
especially when they get hurt.
We were able to acquire Travis in free agency, but there's still a lot of work to be had out there.
Again, and I'm gonna let the reporter finish. But again, now we move to another milestone or another important, pertinent player of the team. Alvin is another one of these players that's at the back end of his career. He got 1 year left. They reworked this deal. They're talking about the $10 million hit that they have and all this kind of stuff. And that's the point of contention from what a lot of people are hearing about AK-41. I'm going to say it again. My public service announcement, my PSA, that Alvin Kamara from what I'm hearing, has not said that he wants to retire. He has indicated that he set this contract in a way where he wants to play his remaining year. He's rehabbing for one final season in New Orleans, and then he retires after the season is over with. That is what Alvin Kamara has said several dozen times. And from what we're hearing right now, and word on the street, is that he intends to play this season. Now, that's Alvin. Now, if the Saints get kind of flimsy on him, and that could be something else. Now, Alvin is at the back of his career. He got 1 year left. He coming off of two injury riddled seasons. Travis A-Chain Jr., ETN Jr., who's now our focus back, our RB1. He's here. Now, there is no such thing as not having two very versatile and good running backs to play in the system. The point of contention is the money. It appears right now that a great amount of the spending the Saints is going to do is at an end. Now, of course, the Chris Olave situation is probably one of the big moves that'll come. Three things coming down the pipe to make the family members aware of outside of the draft is the fact that the Chris Olave contract extension has to be done, if not trade him. Like we've seen with Waddle, you've seen Jalen Waddle from Miami get traded to the Denver Broncos. They're going to be fierce. You know, they're looking to take the next step. Chris Olave's name is out there if the Saints don't reel him in. My thing is, I think you should reel him in. And we understand the hesitation, not only just because of the injury situation, is the fact that the Saints in a couple of years will have to pay a lot of money to Tyler Shuck, and they want to be in position for that. So that's also something to think about too, which would explain the usage of draft picks as many. As it's like last year, the Saints didn't trade any picks. They had 9 draft picks and kept the 9 and drafted 9 guys that contributed to the team. You rarely see that. Going into this upcoming year, the Saints have 8 picks. Remember, they were down picks when the year was still active, and then acquired picks, 2 picks along with Rashid Shaheed. They got the compensatory pick as well. So they got 5 picks in the top 4 rounds where they can bring in some starting level talent at all positions of need, whether it's wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line, including end, linebacker, safety, cornerback, wherever they need to go. And of course, the undrafted aspect of it, in which they shine the brightest. But the AK-41 situation to me, man, is they're looking at the money. But I think AK-40, I'm going to put it, I think AK-41 should be allowed to finish out his NFL career. I mean, he wants to finish out as a Saint, and I think it'll be a crying shame if the Saints did not allow him to do that. Because it ain't happened with Cam. And Cam was probably one of 2 dudes, if you had Cam and AK-41, one on the defense, one on the offense, that, that might happen. And these are 2 of our Cam Jordan's the greatest defensive end the Saints ever known. He has Ricky Jackson's sack record. He has a bunch of tackle records. He's the greatest defensive player the Saints have ever known. And he out smiling right now, living today. Cam Jordan. Me personally, you've earned the right, because he's done something very few individuals do, which means you reward him for what he's been. He's not been a cancer. He's been a community guy. I would reward Cam Jordan for the few extra million, whatever, just to bring. I know but the thing is too, Cam wants to play multiple years. It ain't 1 year. It was at first we was thinking of 1 year. It's not 1 year anymore. Cam Jordan wants to play multiple years with the Saints because he wants to participate in the Tyler Shuck timeline. So he's not done at all, which means, Cam, if you want to play multiple years, he's going to go out there and see what his value is. The door's still open. We're going to hear some of that. But at the end of the day, man, some of these guys, especially like Alvin Kamara and Cam Jordan, they deserve that. They earned that. Maybe not on some of these other guys, but for guys like Cam Jordan and all these guys, they deserve the right to come back, man. And perhaps we'll see what happened with Cam. But AK-41 already on the team, 1 year left. Let him go ahead on and play, man. Forget, if you need more money, we'll rework some other contract without putting voided years in them. We can rework several contracts currently on the team to free up more money. But like I said, for my $10 million, OQ, you give that $10 million. All right, I hear you on that, and I'm not discounting the money, but I'm just keeping it in the context of that this guy is a valued member, the greatest running back you ever had, and the greatest defensive player that we ever had in Cam Jordan. He's going to be a first team. He's going to be a first team Hall of Famer too when he retires finally. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame as soon as he retires. You best believe it. AK-41 is the greatest running back we ever. You got to set a plate at the table. That is a special order when you have players like that. All I'm saying. Here we go.
Do you see them being complementary? Like, do they have different strengths or?
Yeah, I think they're probably similar players. I think both of them obviously have the explosive, elusive ability, can play in all three phases, which is beneficial. And so, I feel like where our running back room is a really healthy room right now.
Shout out to the fam, man. Appreciate y'all. Big ups to y'all.
Is it possible to have a little bit of redundancy
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Our running back room, with the way last season went, a lot of those guys got experience. A lot of those guys played football, and so it's going to be a benefit for us that we got a few guys, 3 or 4 guys that played meaningful snaps last year that are all coming back, and then you throw Travis into the mix, and it's a great situation for us.
Back to the first time that you called plays in the NFL, what is something that you can't really know until you're in that? It's like you're obviously all the preparation or experience at home, but what can you not know until that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the timing of everything. Obviously, there's a play clock and it happens fast. You got a few seconds to make a decision. You got to go, and then I think the challenge, but also fun element is when you got to kind of navigate some things, some unexpected situations during a game, whether it be an adjustment from a scheme perspective, a personnel issue, whatever it may be, and you got to just have those conversations. Kind of go through as many of them as you can before it, but understand things are going to come up.
Is there a rhythm did you find kind of going into it like a few games in, like okay, I think this? I mean, I'm just kind of curious when you started really comfortable who you were.
Yeah, I think each and every week, it's just like a player. You get more and more comfortable with it, and you go through more and more experiences, both positively and negatively. And you're gonna have calls you love, you're gonna have calls you want back. That's gonna happen every game, and no matter how long you call games, you're gonna have the same feeling after games. But it's about learning from those experiences and growing, and preparing yourself more.
Hey, Kellen, you guys prioritized bringing David Edwards in as a free agent. What was it about him that attracted you guys to him?
Yeah, excellent player, excellent person. Been around a bunch of successful programs. He knows what it needs to look like, and just felt like it was a really good fit for us. And so we feel very fortunate.
Kellen, you kind of rescued Audric Estime last year. What did he give you, and what do you got there?
Yeah, I think credit to Audric. He came in the middle of the season, and to be, really quickly right after that on the field playing, executing at a really high level. I think credit to his preparation. He did an excellent job there. And, he's part of a running back room that we have some depth now because of this. And so, obviously, really beneficial. I was fired up for him. Obviously, he performed really well late in the season.
How much playing at West Point, how much more football did you learn by the end of your just going into standing room? What was that like, that process?
Yeah, anytime you have continuity, you get to kind of build off of the previous year and add a little layer to it. And so, similar to just what we're doing as a coaching staff this year, we have a lot of continuity in our staff, a lot of continuity from a player's perspective, and so we're able to stack those things. And so we're able to go through an evaluation of the past year and say, all right, this is where we're at. Now here's where we're going.
And he really, and credit to him, because he did a wonderful job in doing that. The first year, there was a lot of flux and foolishness going on. They had to find a place to live. He had to assemble his staff, so there was a lot of movement going on. They had to find out what the team was. Now, prior to it, he did some evaluating, but not as in-depth, right? He didn't know who this team was and who these players was. So a lot of these players he had that were filling out contracts. You had to figure out if these guys will fit on the team. Now, of course, you guys know, because you diehards, you understand, you support the team. You know who's who, you know who's good, you know who's right in the middle of good, you know who's not that good, who need to work on their game. You can name all of them guys. Kellen Moore didn't know that. He had do his own self-evaluation, and he did it well. You look at the holes the Saints had to patch coming into it. Fam, they patched the correct holes. The left guard position, of course, the center position is still a point of need. Obviously, they're going to look at the draft for that. They're going to go into the draft to see if they can find a center prospect or perhaps the center of the future. So it's going to be interesting because a lot of people say, ask me and DM me and ask me in comments, fam. You said, Q, what do you think about this, that, and the third? How you think we're going to draft? Who we going to draft? And it's hard to ascertain that because it depends on the Saints' big board. Because if scouts have certain players lined up, some guys are going to be higher than other guys' boards. The Saints might have a higher value on a player that somebody else, a lower player on. You see what I'm saying? Because they might feel like those players fit the system better than another guy does, because that's also a part of it too. So, but he did a real good job in going over the team, even down to the special team side of it, fam. They're going out trying to find a new Rashid Shaheed. They're trying to get that covered. They're trying to get, the special teams were horrible. They went and signed a very good punter. They went out. They did give our young kicker from Ireland an opportunity of 3 or 4 year deal. They signed him on at the end of this, during the season, and said this is our guy, which was really cool because he has a hell of a leg on him, man. And I think the future's bright for him. But they're also looking at trying to bring in some competition for him as well to keep him on his toes. The kick returners period is another sub you can look at. Of course, people know Trey Palmer has some return. They got a couple other guys on there that might help in that area. So the Saints are looking at that, but they're looking at to overhaul the special teams room insofar as add talent there, because that team, special team, had its problems last year. So, I mean, it's a lot to kind of go into, man, but he did a real good, wonderful job of really just breaking it down and finding out where they needed the improvement on. Didn't waste time or resources, went right to it. The David Edwards was really solid. Getting Noah Fant as a backup for Juwan Johnson, another athletic type. Those guys mirror each other a lot. Getting Caden Ellis as the linebacker there in next to Pete Werner was solid, because you're dealing with a guy that knows the Saints culture, that comes back very intelligent player. That really helped. So, and a few other moves. So the Saints did real solid movements, man, to kind of improve upon a team. Even the Zach Wilson signing was an upgrade, right? Because if you compare Zach Wilson and Jake Haener together, Zach Wilson is better than Jake Haener. So that's an upgrade right there as well. The Travis A-Chain signing was a big move too, because you still have AK-41. Kendre Miller is, my goodness, he is, I don't know what to say about him. Devin Neal is a stud. Y'all know that. We still have Aldrick Estime. We have Ty Chandler, who they added, who can also be a special teams ace, as well as a guy that can help you on third down. So obviously they're looking to add speed and more speed to the Saints. Give Tyler Shuck all type of weapons, man. So that's very exciting as well. Yeah, and I agree. I think they need to do better with the mic so we can hear the reporters.
No, I think that's a really good observation. Quarterbacks, when they go through the portal or when there's just constant staff changes, which is happening very common in college football right now, feels like sometimes you're relearning, day one stuff constantly every single year. And so you're kind of going back through level 100 instead of kind of graduating and going to the next stage. And so that's just a balancing act everyone's playing in college football, because, the staffs, there's a lot of changes always.
They're going to change that, watch.
There's a lot of movement on the coaching side of it, and then the player side of it's equally the same amount of movement.
So how does that affect the way that NFL offenses can run? Guys maybe never get to 300, 400. How does that maybe affect the way the offense run offense?
I think it's just having an understanding where the player's at and where he needs to go. And all these guys are going to have growth. They got to grow. That's part of the journey. It's part of also of our responsibility, kind of recognizing where they're at, what are they most comfortable with and can be most successful when they come out on the field. And so, that's the focus of ours, and then continue to build them as we go.
Having a second year, just this being your second draft process, like what's different from just the familiarity and kind of knowing everyone and knowing that?
Yeah, I'd say, from a staff perspective, working with coaching and scouting and personnel, and, we've had a full calendar year that we've been together. And so obviously we've had a lot more conversations. We've had a lot more of those dialogues of making sure we're all on the same page. And then the second part of it, the selfish part of it, is just the exposure. Last year, coming in and you're kind of in a little bit of a speedy process. This year, I feel really comfortable with, the stages we've gone through, the conversations we've already had about the draft process, the prospects, just have a much better feel for where
you could tell. You could tell.
Like during the season, college football, what's going on? Like, are you doing Saturdays? Like,
we'll catch some here and there, more from a fan perspective, so not necessarily evaluating. But there's guys that catch your attention, or you catch a guy on a Saturday night meal, and send Jeff a text about, hey, who's this guy who just caught this touchdown pass? And so, it's a fun process.
Kellen, I'm curious. It seems like the 18-game schedule is coming, whether it's in a few years or whatnot. From a coach's perspective, how do you look at, if it does become an 18-game slate, how do you change and alter maybe approach? What do you think are the biggest obstacles to trying to deal with an elongated schedule?
Yeah, I think it's just scheduling. Obviously, we play a number of games. And, if you do preseason and you go all the way to the Super Bowl, I mean, it's whatever, 23, 24 games. And so there's a lot of games on the calendar. I think it's, more important from a management, from a workload perspective, managing those things for the players and understand that, one more week of all that. It's only 1 week. That's another big wear and tear on these guys. And so you got to be conscious of that.
It's just
right. And I ascertain, and I agree with that, but also the information is in terms of the rosters of the players, if the NFL wants that extra game, in which they're going to get it, the reality is they have to adjust that roster. Right now, I've asked to open up the roster more, like it's 53 active roster right now. That ties into the CBA because that means another few players getting extra money because of elevated status, that sort of thing. So it would be interesting to see if the NFL is, allows a certain amount of extra players, into that roster, that active roster, and change the rules because of the wear and tear. You see what I'm saying? To adjust it there as opposed to try to keep everything the same for that extra, for that 18-game slate that they're shooting at. So it's ways it could be done.
Thing to be said too about maybe these scale back OTAs, obviously selected training camp, 12 a month. Like as a coach, do you think about do we maybe make it a little bit lighter just because you've got even a longer grind ahead with an extra game?
It's a good question. It's something if we get to that stage, or when we get to that stage, however we want to look at it, just understanding those numbers and really studying it and finding ultimately a really good acclimation plan because our guys got to be ready to go. They got to be training camp. There's no other environment to practice the physicality and the pads and kind of the physical components of the game. And then once you get in the season, obviously there's a limited exposure to that as you go. And so you just got to balance out both of those.
How would you sorry. Thank you. As you're going through that onboarding process with the young quarterback, what are some of the key things you're looking at initially? What do you look at to say, okay, I know he's ready?
Yeah, I think just going through Tyler's experience, I'd say every quarterback's going to come from a different foundation. Recognize that, continue to grow. A lot of times early in the offseason, they're just trying to understand the system. And so the results, while they are relevant, they're not the most important thing always. I think Tyler's a great example of, during training camp, I mean, he's figuring things out. He's being exposed to something for the first time. And so that's an important part of it, to let him just go through that process. And then once we got to the regular season, we went with Spencer. I felt like Spencer was playing his best football during training camp. He was ready to go. And then Tyler, I think, was in a great environment just to continue to grow as a player and get as much exposure.
Absolutely, he did it. He did it perfectly.
You got to take advantage of being a scout team quarterback. That's a great opportunity. That's a great environment. Tyler was able to deal with muddy pockets, where it's not always clean, and that's going to happen in the league. Test your arm, test your ability to throw the football. Can I make that throw? Can I not make that throw? And when you do it in a practice environment like that, you can put yourself as much in a game environment as you can, but also test yourself, push the boundaries, and then find your common space and your spot where you feel like you're playing your best football. And so Tyler got to that point as the season progressed, and he was ready to go.
It also helped the fact that with Tyler Shuck, when he finally got in there, a lot of the players that he was playing with were guys from the scout team. So it was a very interesting situation. A lot of the guys, starters, were hurt. The interior of the offensive line, a lot of those guys were out of there. Some of the top wide receivers were banged up, so we were down to our 4th, 5th, and 6th guys. These are scout team guys. And it was very interesting how he played, and because he had chemistry with those guys. Kevin Austin Jr. was a great example of this. He was a scout team wide receiver. So having him there, you've seen instant chemistry there. So it was a very unique situation that Tyler Shuck had when he came in there, because most of the players were scout team guys filling in for injured starters. So it was really interesting that he was able to go 5-4 in those 9 games. Should have been it should have been he should have been 6-3. But it was that drop touchdown by Olave in the Miami game, but that should have been a win as well. But I digress. The reality is it was a very unique situation.
The game before, and that position specifically, how much does that help you get on the same page and be able to see the game through the eyes of the quarterback and the cornerback?
Yeah, I think that's ultimately the key to all this. If you're the play caller, head coach, the quarterback ultimately, having as many conversations as you can during the week, understanding, kind of the viewpoint of everyone, and then putting ourselves in the best position to be successful.
The 10 being around, is that a benefit? Just like in the offseason, college staying local, being at the facility, like how does that help with the...
I think it's great for the city. he's at every event. I'm trying to see. Yeah, no, Tyler's been great. Obviously, those guys, again, the big thing for all of our guys is the off-season process. You have this window from the end of the season to OTAs. You have this little window, and there's a ton of flexibility within our guys' schedule, and I think it's important to have the right kind of guys, because they need to have their own structure and their own plan and their own vision for what these few months have to look like. And Tyler's a great example. I think, he's got a plan, he's organized, he's ready to go, he's getting better. And so that when he shows up in April, it's not, loosen up the joints and let's start throwing the football again. He's already had a process and he's already been getting better.
Yeah, they're already throwing the ball.
Some of the things like you guys been looking at the end of the season, like everyone work on this, like are you kind of seeing
that's how you get good.
Those things, and what is he working on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave that up to him as far as his conversations. I think he's every guy's got to get better. Every guy gets to get better as we go through this journey. I think all these guys, again, just having a plan, having a purpose for what they do, not just going out there just to do it, and get better. And so there's a stage of this time of year, which is really, it's their own individual time. They're able to focus on the items they want. We'll get into the OTA phase. We'll kind of reconvene for a few months there, and then we'll have a little summer break and then training camp. And so there's a few stages to this offseason, but again, our guys just got to keep growing.
Yeah, I just absolutely love how you can see it's a maturation than what we've seen from Kellen Moore in just one season. He's more regal in terms of his coaching stance, right, and answering questions and his behavior patterns. He's developed a lot in his first year because there was a lot of losing stuff that happened. He understands. He knows his team. He focuses on his team, the relationship he has with Mickey and the assistants, Mickey and the former GMs that he has. It's it should be a rock group, right? Loomis and the GMs. It's Mickey and the Jets. No, it's Mickey and the GMs. How about that? But nonetheless, man, just love what he's doing. Love his energy. I just think that it's phenomenal. I just love how the black and gold are activating and moving. To be quite honest with you, I think it's splendid. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Man, I love it, man. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all, man. I love the energy and how the Saints are moving, man. I just think it's so awesome, man. To be honest with y'all on this one, man. But nonetheless, let's move on. Let's move on. That's about all I got for y'all to play on him. And I really loved listening to Tyler talk about it. But let's go to Zach Wilson. This is the new quarterback that the Saints signed recently to step in for the backup quarterback, because we know Jake Hayner ultimately was off the team. He moved on. I think he's with the Chiefs now as a backup quarterback, and I consider Zach Wilson an upgrade. So over Jake Hayner. No disrespect to Jake Hayner, man. It's just simply what it is, man. But yeah, some interesting thought processes. They asked why would he decide to sign with the black and gold, and let's hear what he had to say. Here we go.
I'll start you off with just what was it that attracted you to the opportunity here?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. I was really excited about Kellen being, obviously played the position, and him and I have known each other for a little bit, and I was excited to explore that relationship and with the organization, and yeah, I mean that was a big part of it for me.
So Kellen Moore playing the position, but look, you were with Sean Payton, with Mike McDaniel. Now you're with Kellen Moore. Like, is there anything about his offense maybe that stands out to you as well, and his approach to the play calling spot?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good fit for what I feel like I'm good at. I feel like he does a good job in the quarterback room of just allowing the guys to be their best selves and play the position well. So I'm excited about that, and I think he's done a good job developing the guys that are there right now.
Zach, 33 starts. How much does that help you in your experience as you join the Saints now?
Yeah, I think a lot. I mean, I feel like I've learned a lot over the last 5 years, and hopefully I can use that going in and just be able to pick up the offense quickly and have a good idea that I've run most of these things before and at some point in the past, and maybe they're a little different, but just helps me adjust a little bit quicker. And then obviously the game experience helps for sure.
Yeah. How would you characterize those 5 years? Difficult, rocky. How would you characterize them?
Yeah, I mean, crazy. A lot of learning. I'm extremely grateful for just the opportunity to be in the NFL and how hard that is every single day. And met a lot of good people and good friends along the way. And hopefully I can just continue to keep learning and getting better.
Zach, what do you see your role here as? Just how are you coming into this?
Yeah, I mean,
Great
I'm going
question.
in just trying to compete, whatever that means. I can't control where I sit or what's going on from the quarterback position or anything. So for me, it's just, being a good teammate, get to know the guys, do everything I can to learn and study and do the best I can. And if I get an opportunity to play at any point, whether that's preseason or season or, practice, it doesn't matter. Just go out there, do my best, and just try and help the team.
Zach Wilson, regardless if you watch some of his tape, has a degree of athleticism. I ain't gonna say he has a big arm. His accuracy waves a bit, but going to play with Coach Payton and then coming to the New Orleans Saints was a great point because Coach Payton prioritizes that sort of thing, and Kellen Moore does too. And Zach Wilson, he's no threat to Tyler Shuck in any estimation, but Spencer Rattler and Zach Wilson will be interesting competition coming up out of that backup job. That is going to be interesting, to be honest with you, family, on what we see about just that alone. But Zach Wilson not coming here to be a third stringer. That's most certainly. He coming here to be up under the throne, second in command. So this is going to be interesting, man. Like I said, very interesting choice here.
Zach, how have you sort of evolved your mindset and approach in the last few years, trying to decide what's most important to you now that it's been sort of backup roles, like who you're working with, how much playing time you get, how much chance you get to start, how much you can develop? Like, what are your priorities, and how did that sort of affect?
Shout out to Mike Triplett.
Yeah, priority for me is getting into an offense with that I feel like fits me. And I felt like, with Kellen and our offensive coordinator and QB coach as well, that I feel like it's a good fit there. And somebody that knows how to develop the position the right way and handle it the right way. And I like what we do protection-wise and scheme-wise. So, that stuff's important. And then, the rest of it, if I just go out there and I do my best, and I feel like things will work out.
What are maybe some of the parts of your game that you feel best fit what the offense here does?
Yeah, just a lot of the rhythm and timing, the footwork stuff, their ability to play fast and with high tempo, get out of the pocket, quarterbacks that are mobile. As I get into more of the schematics of it and learning the offense, I feel like it's similar to like what I was doing in Denver with Coach Payton as well, and what you kind of see from the Rams and Matthew Stafford as well, a little bit of gunslinger and the ability just to play ball. So I'm excited about that.
Zach, how much was it of a sales job was it to you, or how much was it you identifying New Orleans, saying this is where I want to go?
Yeah, there were some other teams I was looking at. And,
shout out to JD.
I know New Orleans is in a little bit of like a rebuild as well, and that can be a plus or a minus, however you look at it. But I felt like for me, I just picked based off of priorities, like finding somebody that had played the position, like I said, an offense that I felt comfortable with, that I could go in and play well. A great fan base, great culture, great place to live. So that stuff was maybe more important to me than some of the other things you look at in the process of free agency.
Could this be the last stop of a guy like Zach Wilson insofar as he could be a backup, but Zach Wilson still has starter aspirations? And this is a big move, not just because it creates a interesting backup QB position competition between him and Spencer Rattler, but what if? Let's just what if Kellen Moore's right here, that he gets Zach, and what it does pretty much do is it does bring an interesting layer to the backup job, because if injuries start hitting God forbid that happens, but this guy's played football in different places. He was a number 2 overall pick several years ago, whatever it is, very high pick in a draft. And for you to have a guy like this who's still very much young, in the prime of his career, who, if you can solve a few things here, the talent's there. Obviously the talent is there. It's just, you just got to get them together. And I think Zach Wilson's problem is his mental. He took a beating with the Jets. In terms of the media, he was supposed to be the franchise quarterback that carried them to promised land or whatever. And they still stink now with Aaron Glenn running them. But the bottom line is a lot of Zach Wilson's issues are mental. But what if Kellen Moore can fix this guy? This could be interesting because it could serve as a situation where him and Spencer Rattler will provide very solid play. God forbid injuries hit our quarterback, our QB1. So this is an interesting pick with Kellen Moore. He doesn't strike me as Kellen doesn't strike me as a gambling man. He looked at Zach Wilson and said, hey, man, I can do something with Zach Wilson. I can help him out.
Kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, you've mentioned development a couple times, and you said that you saw some good development out of the quarterbacks here under Kellen. Like, was that important to you as well? Just finding a place where you could kind of grow as a player.
Yeah, no doubt. Just
you're looking to become a starter again at some point.
From three individuals on the offensive side, for me at least, that know it really well, especially from a quarterback standpoint.
Yeah, three quarterbacks. That's very unique.
Be my best self, and that was kind of part of the thought process. Is like, where can I go that's going to help me be the best player I can be?
Right, he's trying to get back to being a starter. It might not be with the Saints, but he does because I think it's a 1-year arrangement. But the bottom line is he understands that, hey, physically I have the tools. I can move. I can do this. But I need to figure this out mentally. And and he mentions a quarterback going to a team where a former quarterback is the head coach, former quarterback is an offensive coordinator, and a QB coach that was a quarterback. So that's a three-headed quarterback monster. They would have the psychology to be able to fix, if anything is in. And like I said, I think it is mental because he does have a big arm, but he can play the position. If you can teach him the fundamentals and him sticking to it, because let's just be honest, Zach Wilson is approaching the stage in his career where he's going to be a career backup if he fails. And listen, I ain't expect him to come in there and play no games for us, but I most certainly think that he's going to be more serious than he's ever played before. And is this a real competition? So the only person here that need to be looking at this is Spencer Rattler. This guy is coming for Spencer Rattler's backup job. So we beat out old Jake, but Zach Wilson is looking to take that second position there. It does provide another interesting layer for our training camp, doesn't it, fam?
Do you know Tyler at all?
I think, funny enough, we were actually in the same Elite 11 class in high school. He probably doesn't remember me even being there, but he was the 5-star, all the offers from everybody. And I was just like a 3-star quarterback with just a few Mountain West offers and a couple Pac-12 offers back then. And and then we both went our separate ways. And I don't think we've ever talked in person or really met up much, but I've always been kind of able to follow his career from afar a little bit. And, he had a good year. I was excited for him. And we've texted a little bit since I've, committed to go to the Saints. And, we're excited to see where that relationship goes. It's crazy how the league works out that way.
It sure is.
He transfers, he gets an opportunity somewhere else, and he does really well. And I go to BYU and play early and don't have a very long career there and get to go to the league quick. So it's crazy how it works. I'm going into year 6, he's going into year 2, and we're the same age. It's pretty crazy.
That is insane. That's insane how it ended, because he ended up going in the top of the draft when he was drafted by the Jets. And Tyler Shuck, of course, was hurt year after year after year until he got to that 7th year, balled out, and was a 40th pick in the 2nd round last year. It is insane how crazy they get there, but nonetheless, they arrive on the same team. That's crazy work.
Do you see, is there something the last few years when you kind of were in more of a backup role, like helping the starter? Like, do you enjoy that? Is that, is that an aspect of football you enjoy? And what's kind of your take on that?
Yeah, I don't know if I would look at it from like a helping the starter standpoint, like I'm a coach, but for, I think the room, just having a good relationship between me, Tyler, Spence, and like the ability to just like all of us bouncing ideas off of each other, learning from each other in practice, watching film together, kind of just talking about what we see, I think is the benefit. It's a little different than my role, with some guys like Aaron Rodgers, for example, that like kind of took on like a coach in the room, for example. Like I don't put myself as like hey, I'm going to like sit here and run the meeting rooms or anything like that. But I do think us bouncing ideas is always a good thing.
I like that. That's
How
fair.
important was Aaron to your career, and what did you kind of learn from him?
Yeah, well, obviously our time together was pretty short. We just got, the OTAs and training camp, but I enjoyed our time together and the offense we played in and the footwork and, some of the things we did. I thought it was really cool for me to learn and to see after my first 2 years, which was very different. So I enjoyed that. And then obviously once he'd gotten hurt, I didn't get to see him much. He was doing rehab, I think, in California. So didn't see him for the entire year. And then obviously the next year I wasn't there. So I enjoyed our time together and felt like I learned a lot about football while he was there.
Okay. All right. So, and that's Zach Wilson, man. Like I said, it's an interesting caveat for the Saints. It's a 1-year deal, I believe, that he signed to be here. But it does, and it's a very interesting another layer to it, because what it does mean is it'll bring competition to the backup quarterback job, and that to me is always a good thing. So, welcome aboard, Zach Wilson, to the team. So I would consider it an upgrade, to be honest with you, family, because I think Zach Wilson is better than Jake Haener. So, hey, to me, that's easy work. All right, shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all, man. Much love to y'all. Y'all do me a service by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. By all means, share the show, man. We up in this thing, Big Q, on this Tuesday, man. Much love to y'all, man, out there. Big ups. Now, tonight, man, fam, listen, they got a special. We'll have a Patreon rolling out tonight with our Patreon special tonight. We'll have another mock draft here. We'll do the first 25 Big Qs, the big board, the big board. I think it's 50 players on it. I think 25 of the players, we're going to do it again tonight, and we're going to talk about some of that on the big board. And the way I kind of constructed my board is, I kind of had the Saints in mind when I did the board, but this is just players that I believe are some of the best players in terms of overall ranking. So it's 50 of them. I want to do 100, but I'm gonna do it in 25 player increments, and we'll do that tonight on Q with Big Q for the family members. So shout out, if you want to see that, go to patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. That's patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. So you can get access to the On Q with Big Q show. We'll have another news segment coming up here. A lot of stuff going on across the hemisphere that's, got a lot of people spooked. We'll talk a little bit about that on Q with Big Q. You can only get that on Patreon. Anyway, let's get back into a shout out to y'all, man. Let's get into the article right here. We listened to a percentage of the Kellen Moore article, but I wanted to kind of cover it and what we learned at the NFL's owners meeting. And Jeff Nowak, shout out to him. He did a wonderful job in putting together the summation of Kellen Moore's interview at the owners meeting. And he did a really good job, but the takeaways is he did it for me, because I was going to get up here and kind of break them down one by one. But that's, I seen this on there. I was like, this guy is spot on, man, as usual. So big ups to him. And he mentioned number one takeaway here was the Chris Olave extension to be determined. The momentum has been there for some time on Olave's extension, but it's tough to know how close together the two sides are. It's likely that Jackson Smith and the Jigba's record record extension has or will become a talking point. I think it's hard to try and say everyone has to follow the same timelines. It's a lot of conversations, a lot of variables that go into those things. That's what Kellen said. We love Chris. It's been a really good conversation, I know, from a business side, and you will just continue to keep working through that. It always made the most sense for a deal to get done this offseason. There's no reason it needed to get done early. Olave will want the security of a long-term deal, and the Saints won't gain much, if anything, by waiting. This is true. Another strong season by Olave would only drive the price up further, while delaying risk, fraying of relationship is unnecessary. All that to say, I still expect a major Olave extension at some point this offseason. I just don't expect it anytime soon. And He's right. He's right. Is somebody has to be motivated to make a step closer. And of course, every time you have a deal, there is a counter deal. Very rarely are you, if you're in business and you're buying and somebody's selling, that you actually are going to buy the price that they're selling at. Very rarely in business, if you're a business and somebody's selling, you're going to pay their price. You're going to haggle a little bit. You're going to ask them to come down here. You're going to buy so many units or whatever the case may be. But if Olave gets an offer from the Saints, there's a counter offer. Then there's a counter to the counter. Then there's a counter to the counter to the counter, and so on and so forth. Y'all know how this goes. But whatever the counter to the counter was, because we know there was an offer, there was a counter. And if there was a counter on top of that, it has not gained any traction. And now as you wait, Olave's benefiting hugely because the contracts explode. Now you come back to the board, and now we're going to have to kind of remake this thing here based on current projections. This is what my client is worth now. And the Saints only have anybody but themselves to blame, because if they want Chris Olave, you pay him his price. Would you expect him to drop his price? His price is not going to drop. You have to pay him. If not, then trade him. It's as simple as that. And the longest you wait on that, it just creates, bad relationships between them, because the man did what he was supposed to do. He stayed healthy and he balled out. Two things that people was asking him to do, he met it, and all of a sudden now he ain't worth it no more. We'll see. The second thing we learned, that AK-41 and Travis Etienne, AK and ET, the Saints head coach is talented when it comes to consistent messaging, that particularly true when it comes to topics of which he's not keen to share details. He is really swift on that. Moore picks a message and sticks to it. Here's the basic boilerplate answer we've gotten. All the Saints veterans are pending free agents this time, in reference to Alvin. We love Alvin. He said the same thing about Chris Olave. He means the world to us. Again, this is a full off-season process, which means we're going to be doing this for the full off-season. That's the process. But this time, Moore did a bit further down the road and assessed a potential future with veteran Kamara splitting carries with newly signed Travis A-Chain. All right. That's how he wants you to say it. Certainly we'll feel like, hey, Alvin is in the room. Moore said you can find roles for all those different guys. And you really can. If you're imaginative, you can find roles. You can have one in the backfield, one lined up like a wide receiver in space. You can, because that's the great thing about having versatile players. You can move them around and create mismatches, right? You can do that. Certainly we feel like, there's room. We haven't heard Kamara speak publicly this offseason, but a Kamara A-Chain tandem would be intriguing. Both offer well-rounded skill sets, but would AK willingly take a back seat? I mean, it ain't about taking a back seat. I mean, he's not the primary. He's not RB1 anymore. And I don't think Alvin's tripping on that. Based on what I know about AK-41, he just wants to win. He not tripping on, hey, I got to be RB1. He ain't tripping on none of that. As long as he's contributing, I think Alvin's good. He's not that type of dude. Be like, I ain't doing nothing unless I'm RB. Nah, that's not him. Plus, he wants a smooth retirement year. Both offer well-rounded skill sets, but AK willing to take a back seat. The type of contract the Saints had at A-Chain would indicate he's the lead back. He's been a long time since Kamara wasn't in that role. It's been a long, yes, indeed. Regardless, it does sound like Moore would be perfectly fine managing the potential logjam. Devin Neal, Audric Estime, and Kendre Miller would also be in the mix for potential depth roles. He also forgot Ty Chandler, who we signed. Ty Chandler, last time I checked, is listed as a running back. So that's another guy in the room. We feel like there's ways you can manipulate all those guys and put them in plenty of situations. Moore said, again, look at our season last year. Look at the probably just about every NFL season. Plenty of running backs play. Obviously we feel fortunate that we were able to acquire Travis and free agents, but there's a lot of work to be done out there. And of course, remember, that you need a good solid 4 running backs because the Saints went through AK-41, Kendre Miller, Devin Neal, and got down to Audric Estime and Evan Hall. We got to our 4th and 5th running backs by season end. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Is injuries sometimes eat into the depth chart, and you got to have solid running backs there. So is Elvin worth being RB2? Absolutely. Absolutely keeping him there. You know, if you talking about getting rid of him for the money, your next back is Kendre Miller, who can't. So I mean, this stuff about getting rid of Alvin Kamara because $10-something million, the hell with that. If you get rid of him for the money, they can pick up a rookie in the draft. It won't be Jeremiah. Jeremiah going to be gone before the Saints get to him. I don't see Jeremiah. I see Jeremiah going inside the top 5. Hell, I can see the Washington Commanders / future Redskins are going to be. What you said, Q? It's coming. It's coming. Don't be surprised. But the bottom line is, hey, man, listen, he might be gone. I could see him going early. He's going to be going within the top 5. I'd be surprised if Love falls to 8. That's just simply not going to happen. He's just too good. Some big boards have him listed as the top player in the draft. Now, of course, we know the Raiders don't count because they're going to take Mendoza. But all these other teams are in play, and all of them could use some help. I heard Aaron Glenn talking about he believes that Geno Smith, the Jets can win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith. Well, I mean, you got Breece Hall. You got a few guys there. You better be a drafting fool. He added a ton of talent on defense to kind of add players there. He added some people on the defense with DeMario and all these other guys. So he had a ton of because he want to be able to rely on that defense in those games. He thinking like an old defensive player, man. We got to run the ball and play defense. So it's interesting, but nonetheless, man, this will be interesting, man, to see how they look. But anyway, you never know with these running backs, man. I would not get rid of AK-41. I simply would not do it. Number 3 of what we learned from Kellen Moore in that meeting, wait and see at star. Who will replace Alante Taylor? That's a very good question to answer from the Saints, at least for now, seems to be that you shouldn't anticipate any movement prior to the draft, which means, yes, the Saints are in full-blown draft mode right now. Obviously, we have multiple reports, and there'll be more coming, maybe 2 to 3 reports per day. It's a lot of stuff because as the Saints get closer and closer to the draft, you start seeing more and more of these calls being put out. So you'll see more and more of them looking at players. So it's going to be interesting, but it's obviously going to be a challenge. Coach Moore said, I think we got some guys in our building. Obviously, we feel like, they can make the transition both from the corner and safety buckets, so to speak. Sometimes that position has some variables that tie both those positions together. Again, we'll go through the draft process. We'll see what comes out of that experience, and then we'll continue to evaluate. Okay, so the biggest thing to unpack there is that there are players on the roster who could do the job. Per the head coach, let's list the likely potential options that can play the star position. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, Isaac Yiadom, safeties Jonas Sanker, Justin Reed, Julian Blackman, and safety Terrell Burgess. Now, we've had people that say, Q, if, Mansour Delane is the guy, he'll be awesome. You can kick Kool-Aid to the star position. And Kool-Aid at Alabama played some of that. He's familiar with some of that position at the star. He wouldn't be my, original thought process, person on that. I wouldn't put Quincy there or even Isaac Yiadom. He's not reliable enough to play. So Yiadom, absolutely not. But Kool-Aid's intriguing because he had some history at Alabama playing a little star role. But if you take Mansour Delane, which the Saints brass love Mansour Delane, plus 6 foot physical, smart cornerback, very intelligent, ran 4.35 at the combine, lit his draft stock on fire. Of course, I like Caleb Downs as well. He's a perfect fit for that. But what if this guy's gone? The star is very interesting, but like I told y'all about it before, there could be a spot where Jonas Sanker steps in there. The Saints had a plan. When Alontae Taylor was going to get in the win, the Saints had a plan that Jonas Sanker could be the star guy. Sanker played really well. So you'll take him out of his safety role and move him to the that could be a possibility for the Saints. It could be. Now, of course, it could be if they don't get the players that they want to get in the draft, like if Caleb Downs is not there, and then they have to go in a different red. Like I said, they got 5 picks in the first 4 rounds. They're going to get somebody to help them there. But on the team currently, Sanker seems to be a good idea there. Kool-Aid and Sanker to me, but more Sanker than Kool-Aid that I like. And then you go, well, who plays his position? Blackman. Yes, indeed, Blackman. But like I said, we'll see how it all goes. It's all speculation at this point. But Jeff Nowak says to this point, my guess would be Sanker or Blackman is the ideal choice. I wouldn't say Blackman because Blackman can't stay healthy. But that could all change depending on the draft. For example, what if the Saints land someone like Mansour Delane at number 8? Suddenly, the nickel corner is almost definitely one of the Riley. It would be Kool-Aid in that case, in my estimation. The main question is who's best suited for the transition. The second question is how willing are they to do? I think Kool-Aid McKinstry would do well there. Kool-Aid McKinstry would do well at that position. If you take Mansour Delane, and you have Mansour Delane, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Quincy Riley, I would say Kool-Aid there as a star because Kool-Aid played a little of that in college. What if the Saints land star safety Caleb Downs at number 8? Then almost definitely a safety sliding into the star. He would fit right in like hand to glove. Caleb Downs came up as a Saints man. If he's available at 8, the Saints got to look at him. I mean, I say that about so many of these other talented players, Sonny Styles and all these other guys. You got a tough call to make regardless, but you're going to win. If you take Sonny Styles or you take Ruben Bain or you take Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Love or Mansour Delane, or players like that at the 8 position, you winning all the way around. You can't lose with either one of those. Whether it's Mansour, whether it's Caleb, whether it's some of these guys we talked about, because they all fit needs and they'll be top-notch talents on your defense or offense. Really, it should be defense there, but even if it's a wide receiver, all of it would fit. Like if it was a wide receiver, if it was a defensive end, if it was a if it was a safety, if it was a linebacker, even if it was a interior defensive lineman, a defensive tackle that the Saints take. I wouldn't take one that high, but even if they took it, that would mean that, hey, man, that would be interesting because you still have Brian Bresee, who the Saints are approaching. He coming off injury this year. Coming up May, they have to decide on his kicking in that extra year there like they did for Chris Olave. They're not going to pay him that $13 million for 1 year. So what they're going to do is turn that down, but that happens in May. So the Saints going to turn down that extra year and then try to work on an extension to keep Brian Bresee. But the bottom line is, interiorly speaking, who do you have to play there for the future summation? A lot of people, we're not looking at that because we got Divine Gacho on 1 more year. Nate Shepard, I think, is a year left for 2 on his deal. And then you sign a backup like John Ridgeway. And then there are people like a few other reserve defensive tackles there. But do you have really a future nasty big guy inside that workings of the defense there? Do you have that guy? The answer is no. Vernon Brockton was drafted as an end who can kick inside, but there is a question mark on Vernon Brockton. You don't know what he can do. So maybe not at that position. I've seen mock drafts give a Saints a defensive lineman there If you're looking at high, maybe in the second round, because people are like, why that Q, you can do better. I'm telling you that they're looking at this thing, and you can't go wrong because everybody you get is going to be either the best player or the second best player at the position. You're talking about the defensive ends. They'll be the second at that level. They'll be the second best, highest in the draft. That's a top 10 player. You'll get either the best cornerback or the best safety. You're going to get the best interior defensive lineman, the second best linebacker, because I think Orville Reese will be going inside the top 5 or 6, and Sonny Styles might slip. So it depends on, what you're looking at. Regardless or not, you're going to get a stud at that 8 spot, best believe. From wherever it comes, you're going to get a stud. So the next question is, that's almost definitely a safety sliding to the role. Caleb Downs at number 8 would be perfect. It'd be hand in glove. The Saints could also look at the number 42 pick at a prime spot to land a dedicated nickel cornerback. D'Angelo Pounds, we talked about Pounds, is awesome out of Indiana. We seem like a strong option. And there are a couple other guys, but Pounds is not a bad call there. And if the Saints came out of the draft without an infusion of talent at the DB spot, what if they didn't? I wouldn't be surprised if they turned to the free agent market for a veteran name that could compete for the job. I expect moving is just a matter of where it comes from. I think it comes from the draft because the Saints have, like I said, they have 8 picks in total, 5 of which are inside of the first 4 rounds. That is a lot, fam. That is at least 3 to 4 potential, or you got, potentially 5 guys there that you can have, but you'll have those guys in the first 4 rounds. 5 picks in 4 rounds is ridiculous. That is so awesome. And you can do some building there. Like you can add depth. You can get a couple of those, the first, second, and third picks. Those guys most certainly will be slotted somewhere to compete. If you picked up a star player, or depending on who you get, they're going to compete their asses off in the spots they get. So you the first, the second, and the third round picks they're going to find a spot for them guys somewhere. You most certainly know where's a spot for a potential draft pick. Because when you draft these players, you would like to slot them for a place to play right away, right? And if you BPNA in it, you will put them in positions. You're probably going to move guys around because you believe in these talented guys you're taking. But the bottom line is, where on the team, if you draft them for the Saints as a starting position for them to land at in the cornerback room, right? Whether it's Caleb or whether it's Mansour, there's an opening there. There is, where else are we looking at openings? There's a potential 2 role for a wide receiver, depending on which one you're looking at. So wide receiver 2 could be a spot. No disrespect to Polk or any of these other guys, but these other guys might have more flash in the pan. So you're looking at wide receiver 2. You're regardless or not, all your starting linemen, offensive linemen are there. A lot of people say, Q, what about the salad? Nah, well, they believe in the salad, so we're going to leave the salad out of this one. So a wide receiver 2. How about edge rusher? With Cam out, but that you still, even if you had re-signed Cam, you still would have to pick up a defensive end in the second or third round. You definitely would need him. So you're looking at defensive end edge rusher. So you got wide receiver 2, defensive edge rusher, and you're looking at cornerback. Cornerback 2, maybe cornerback 3, right? Depending on who you land. If you get Mansour Delane there and Kool-Aid McKinstry play the star, then guess who becomes the star of the defense? It is or the perceived big-time cornerback, it'll be Delane, which I'd be tickled pink because that's the LSU guy, and we got him at number 8. I think that'll be the highest drafted LSU player the Saints ever picked up themselves. I want to say I'm going to have to look that up, but y'all correct me in the chat. It'll be interesting to see how this stuff all works out. Shout out to the writer here, Jeff, for making us think. And, of course, the fourth comment was Cam door still open, speaking of that DE, right? We continue to get the similar type of form letter answer about Cam as we have the rest of the players with uncertain futures, but it remains notable that neither the Saints or Cam have ruled anything out. In my eyes, the Saints are still one body short at the edge rush position. Yes, they have Chase and Granderson as starters, but Staley loves a rotation. He really do. And they'll want at least one more tried and true option. The Saints did re-sign Chris Rump, a high motor player who I like a lot. He was very productive, man. A lot of people forget about Chris Rump. He was in there setting the edges, chasing people down. Chris Rump really had a hell of a season for us last year. Also on special teams, who doesn't seem like he qualified as a Cam replacement. He wouldn't. Obviously, we love Cam, and he's obviously a free agent, and your responsibility is to put yourself in the best position to be successful. This Coach Moore loves everybody. So Cam gets to do that, and that's credit to him and his journey and the performance that he had last year. I thought he did a really good job for us, so we'll continue to have those conversations. It's worth noting that Jordan was in the city this past weekend at the Pelicans game, and they handed out his bobblehead, so shout out to Cam. He was courtside at the – I wish we'd won the damn game, but he was courtside at the game with his family. One thing I believe as far as Cam is concerned is that it's not all about money. He wants a situation where he is going to play and have a chance to produce. He wants to play for a team headed in the right direction, and he stated repeatedly that he preferred not to play for a cold weather team. He's also ruled out the Falcons. Of course he would. He said, I still can't shake the notion that the best fit on both ends is back in New Orleans until the Saints sign his replacement. In my opinion, the door is open. And I agree with the writer here that Cam Jordan is going out and finding out places and seeing if he can have in my estimation, he's going out and he's seeing if he can collect deals that will, seeing what people will pay him. And that perhaps he takes that back to the Saints. And I think this is what it is to a degree, to use these extra offers as leverage, because this is what he wants to do. He wants, and listen, it is about money, okay? If it wasn't about money, Cam would have took the deal the Saints offered him and came back, and none of this been happening. Cam Jordan looked at Demario Davis and seen Demario got multiple years with the Jets, and Cam said, damn, I want to be able to, he don't want to break the bank, but he wants something that's respectable to what he did last year. And that's the point. You can't discount the 10.5 sacks, because if I came into it and I was 5 years younger, you would be like, okay, whatever. You had 10.5 sacks, he go to money. It's a bit of Cam ain't saying it, but I'm saying it's different. It's a little age discrimination going here, because if you feel like 10.5 sacks led the team, we shouldn't be here arguing back and forth about, am I worth it or not? Based on a guy that had 10.5 sacks, what I'm asking for is legitimate, right? Saints don't feel that way, which is a shame, because he performed. I would definitely pay him. It's another question on he wants to play multiple years, so it ain't just 1 year. Cam wants to play at least 2 to 3 years, according to what they're saying. So is that a problem, with the Saints going forward? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But even if you did sign Cam Jordan back, you still had to draft a defensive end. You still had to, because what if Cam doesn't produce this following 2026 to 27 like he did in 25-26? What if he doesn't produce like that? What if he doesn't produce? What if that was just for that year and whatnot? You see what I'm saying? It's not guaranteed that Cam comes into if you sign him back, he gets another 10-sack season. That's not a guarantee. So you have to be able to continue to make that position younger. So we'll just watch him. I think he's using these other deals as potential leverage. Number 5, back to Metairie. The Saints want to schedule joint practice again this offseason, but they'll be at the mercy of the NFL to get it done. Their desired West Coast camp trip really only works cleanly if they have preseason games in the vicinity. They've gotten very effective at holding practice out in Irvine, but that is a big investment if it amounts to a pit stop on a journey elsewhere. We've got to wait, pending hopefully the games they're hoping for. Hopefully those come out our way, because we've got some plans ahead of that, just to create some joint practice environments. I think that's going to be really beneficial for our team. Last year we were heavy into scheme installation. We're kind of putting in 2 new schemes on offense, defense. So this year I think the continuity is going to allow us to get some really good work in, some joint practices, and it's just a matter of getting the games that hopefully will complement that. So that's smart. The long and short of the answer is, while the Saints will hope to get an extension road trip on the schedule, much like last year, the majority of camp will likely be in Metairie. With an international game on the agenda, the team will likely be wary of convoluted travel schedules during camp. It is the same reason they were against landing in the Hall of Fame game. 2 of the Saints preseason games will be on the road. So coaches and players have both highly bespoke highly on the plan and schedule a year ago. The Saints kicking things off in the brutal heat and humidity of South Louisiana, and were granted a reprieve and some bonding time with practices out west. I expect they'll keep that going if the NFL cooperates. So yes, indeed, getting all that done and putting it together is a big part of it. The training camps and so on and so forth. So shout out to Jeff Nowick for putting this great article together. Shout out to him. And indeed, man, it was well said from our coach Moore, breaking the game down and letting us know what's going on with the Saints there. But man, regardless of how you slash it, it's going to be an interesting time to be a black and gold member, man. We still got a lot of stuff left that'll be going on. We still got the draft coming up, and it's a lot to go, man. We still, we about to hit April tomorrow. So we getting closer and closer to this draft, man. And it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good for the Saints, man. They're doing a very solid job in the offseason, man, meeting needs. And what they're doing is, scouting talent and trying to improve this team, man. They want to make a jump to get to that next level, man. I applaud that, man, because we want to get back into the playoffs, man, and some relevant football. So that's big ups to that. All right. So anyway, with that being said, fam, listen, I'm going to get ready to cut out on that. Listen, I'd like to thank all of y'all for joining me on this show. Shout out to FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Sports Coma for all bets. Please feel free to go to FanDuel, prop bets and regular bets, whatever you got. Check out FanDuel. Also, big ups to you guys for your support today. Y'all want to see some live content, be doing some stuff like that later on Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. Shout out to our YouTube membership family, our new YouTube membership family. Shout out to our Patreon champions as well, man, for all that you do. Everything that you see in the growth that we're making is strictly because of you guys. All of the support you guys have been showing in your own dedicated hard-earned money to want to see, a diehard man come through and represent y'all the correct way and style and class and pizzazz and realness, man. And I appreciate that, man. That's why I work hard to make sure I step the game up and talk to the family members and continue coming at you with the great content as much as I can, man, because y'all guys really deserve it, man. So big ups to you guys. We appreciate you once again. Shout out to my brother OG Jerry for his and wishing him a happy belated birthday, and other family members who had their birthdays coming up today and tomorrow, man. We know we got April Fool's Day coming up, but big ups to all of y'all, man. Much love. Y'all guys stay safe out there, man. Stay prayed up, man. And listen, go check on your strong people. I'm gonna leave y'all with that on this show. Go check on your strong people. Check on your strong people. Make sure they're okay, man. You know the pillars in your community, in your family, friends, families that are strong, that get that reputation of being strong. Give them a call. Check on your strong people. Check on your strong people. Check on your strong people. So with that being said, man, I'm going to get on up out of here, man. I appreciate y'all, and I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one. Much love, peace, and who that tell you?
Who that say they gonna beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gonna beat them Saints? Who that? Who that?
Hey, New Orleans! Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with the whotdatdaily.com. Your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit the whotdatdaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.